Welcome back to Law of Cosines from the practice test for priority standards that mimics or is similar to Form F. This is question number 2. We are going to draw a triangle again. And I'm going to label it capital DEF because measure of angles off to the side say that, and also the side lengths are. So capital D, capital E, capital F. Opposite angle D is going to be 16, opposite angle E is going to be 9, and opposite angle F is going to be 8. Now, since I have no angles, I can't use law of sines, so from up above, I need to use law of cosines formula, which is this one here. Remember that the two values on the outside represent the angle and opposite side, so with that, I want to solve for the largest side angle, because cosine always gives me the answers that are bigger than 90 degrees, and sine does not. So you got to pay attention to this very carefully. Now with this, I'm going to set this up as 16 squared equals the other two side lengths squared. So 8 squared plus 9 squared. Order does not matter on the right side. And then minus 2 times 8 times 9. Once again, that order does not matter. You can switch it up as long as you got them there. And then cosine of angle capital D. Now with this, you must make sure you treat mathematic rules appropriately. This value on the left side can only be combined with itself. This number over here with the cosine of D can only be simplified with the multiplication. And then these two values here are the same term, meaning they are like values. They can be combined together. So if you do each one of these separate, you can then put them into your calculator as 3 different numbers. Parentheses do not matter because of the positive values being squared. On the cosine of D, when you put that in your calculator and you multiply it, I type it as -2 times 8 times 9, and I get that answer. So my 3 values are going to be 256 equals 8 squared plus 9 squared is 145. And then minus 2 times 8, 9, times 8 and 9, excuse me, is 144, and then cosine of D. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 145 over. Remember, you cannot combine those two numbers because they both don't have cosine of D, those two numbers being 145 and 144. And then I have, whoops, 111 equals -144 cosine of D. When you are finding angle D, or angle whatever that is missing, you will divide by a negative number. I keep these separate. So I get cosine of capital D equals a fraction, so I keep it as 111, -144, and then find the angle by doing the inverse. So measure of angle D equals cosine inverse or arc cosine of that fraction. If you're going to write it down as a decimal, you must use 4 decimal places. Do not be rounding as you go through, otherwise you'll be off. And typing this in my calculator, approximately comes out to be 140 degrees and 0.43. So 140.43 degrees. Now to find measure of angle F or E, since measure of angle D is bigger than 90 degrees, it doesn't matter which angle you find. However, to be best practice, you should always go find the smallest side angle next when you do law of sines. So for law of sines, I'm going to go with the one I just found, and then I'm going to find angle F because it's opposite the 8. So sine of capital F over 8 equals sine of the angle I just found of 140.43 all over 16. And if you cannot just set these items up just straight up, always set up your fractions so you know. I could have done 8 over sine of capital F equals 16 over sine of D equals 9 over sine of E And when you're doing that, that allows you to see if you have knowns or unknowns and which formula you have to use. Apologize for not doing that first. I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. So I'm going to have sine of f equals 8 sine 140.43. I am using parentheses to make sure to reinforce that idea right now because my brain is going a little bit forgetful. So sine of f equals that number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find measure of angle f equals sine inverse. And I'm not going to find that as a decimal. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. But if you wanted to get the decimal, 4 decimal places, it's what you also need to write down if you're not using exact. Do not round as you're doing it. Otherwise, it will be wrong because it will be off. Mathematically, 100th doesn't seem much, but it does change a bunch of things that could literally make or break formulas and validity of your work. So you want to make sure that you are doing the best to not round as you're doing your work. Even if you can, don't round to 4 decimal places. Pardon my nose. My allergies are killing me. 18.57 degrees. So now using what I know about measure of angle F and measure of angle D, I can find measure of angle E. So this is 18.57 degrees. And if I take measure of angle E equals 180 minus the measure of angle F minus the measure of angle D, I'm going to get measure of angle E is approximately some number minus 140.43 minus 18.57. And that comes out exactly to 21 degrees based on rounding. That is not something that typically happens. Based on the decimals and how they work out, you don't have to round that to 2 decimal places because you did that as you did your work. And mathematically, that's what it came out to. That's a rare situation, but sometimes it does happen. To be best practice, because everything was rounded, I am going to put those 2 degrees there with or put the degrees with 2 decimal places.